Welcome. This is James Stevens with Jet Kinesiology. I'd like to introduce our Series 200 trainings at this time. And we have a variety of different applications for muscle testing that we deliver through courses, anywhere from emotion release to nutrition testing to testing for personal decisions. And what we're going to be taking a look at first is a common denominator in all of those trainings, and that is making sure that you are in what we call a testable state. Now, testable state means quite simply that you are responding appropriately to a poor food substance versus a good food substance. But there's a little bit more to it than that. We're going to make sure that you warm up correctly and so that you get a green light go for testing so you can trust your test results. And to achieve this, what we have created is a follow the yellow brick road approach. Again, borrowing from the Wizard of Oz, where if Dorothy stayed on the yellow brick road, everything was fine, but what happened every time she got off the yellow brick road was she got into trouble, right? And so we want to make sure that you don't get into trouble. And so what we're going to be doing is having you follow the yellow brick road. And this is in the form of a document known as your personal test buddy. And the personal test buddy is a little bit different depending on whether you're testing for emotion release or personal decisions or nutritions, etc. But what is always the same is the first couple of steps, which is to make sure that you're in a testable state. So let's go ahead and start off by taking a look at this document and how you can make sure that you're getting test results that are as good or not, if not even better than any professional. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first thing we're going to do is take a look at the document. So if you see this document right here, Personal Test Buddy, it's always document E as in Edward. And it has a couple of basic steps to, first of all, prepare for testing. Second, qualify for testing. And then if you're unable to qualify, there are adjustments down here that you can make. And once you've done these three things right here, then we get a green light go for testing. And the reason why this is blank down here is because, like I mentioned earlier, depending on what we're testing for, there are different protocols, whether it's for food supplements, etc. And then down here is your scorecard for keeping track of your scores, which once again varies from application to application. So let's go ahead and take a look, jump right into it here, take a look at section 1, prepare. Actually, I want to bounce up a little bit higher. You'll notice that underneath the title of the Personal Test Buddy, it says see document F for footnotes 1 through 18. And this is a footnote right here. And there's another footnote right there, another one there, and another one there. And document F is what has those footnotes on it. So let's go ahead and take a look at that next. And this is called the navigator for your Personal Test Buddy. And what you'll find is that these line items that we saw on the previous document right here, which is what we call bricks, so that you follow the yellow brick road, each one of these items may have further explanation. Like if we take a look at footnote number 1 right here, and look on document F, the explanation or the further in-depth information on footnote 1 has to do with a controlled environment being essential. It goes on to say that distractions affect the accuracy of testing, have your answering machine pick up, cell phones and pagers off, and pets out of the room. Other persons in the room, if they're going to be in the room, they must be quiet observers and not to interrupt. And you also want to try and anticipate interruptions before testing starts. So there's a couple of further things I'd like to talk about relative to having a controlled environment. And we were talking about some of the physical aspects of that. You know, we just got done covering those, right? But the other thing for us to discuss is the emotional and the psychological preparation. And one of the things that is conducive to a person being in a testable state, meaning that they get a green light go for muscle testing, is when they are not stressed. And so if you can pick and choose your time for muscle testing, do it at a time when you're not stressed out or you're not rushing, if possible. Now, there's a number of times when I muscle test that I just muscle test on the fly. And it's a little bit different from this well thought out setup that we have here to make sure that you're in a testable state. And I'd recommend that you use this well laid out protocol when you're testing for some real important stuff, or you're testing an entire battery of products, or maybe you're doing an hour's worth of work on emotion release, whatever the case may be. If it's some real down and serious testing, then go ahead and take your time to make sure you're in a testable state. It's another story if perhaps I'm at a grocery store and I run out to my car and grab my tester. I'm going to make sure I'm in a testable state. I'll do my warm-up according to the JET casual testing that you learned how to do, and then I'll be bingo in the store testing it. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this detailed setup for making sure that you're in a testable state, and also equally important, what to do if you're not in a testable state, how to correct that situation. And so let's go ahead and take a look in depth now at the preparation stage. The second thing that is, or the third line down, well, the first line, let's jump to that. It says read, understand, and sign the statement at the bottom. And this right here is the statement. It is a disclaimer for you to sign, print, and date it. And then up here, controlled environment. Next one down, third one down, no alcohol or non-prescription drugs in the last 5 hours. And it has footnote number 2 as well on that one. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Navigator and see what it says about it. No alcohol or non-prescription drugs. Avoid over-the-counter cold medications, cough syrups, etc. But take all prescribed medications exactly as prescribed. Also, it's best to test when you're not ill, or you may have difficulty with qualifying. And we'll talk about qualifying in just a minute here. One of the things to keep in mind is this, is even if you are down with a cold or something, it still comes down to, are you in a testable state? And there have been times when I've been under the weather that I've been able to still test. And it's because I qualified even though I was under the weather. However, sometimes if you are under the weather, if you're stressed out, those types of things can prohibit a person from being in a testable state at that point in time. And there's a couple of corrective remedies that we can use. And then of course you can also wait to until a time when it's a little more conducive for you, okay? All right, let's take a look at the next line, which is to eat a portion of wholesome food if possible, and to drink 12 ounces of water. And that goes in line with what you learned in your practicing, to have a nice tall glass of water, which is important for hydration. Hydration is a necessary part of the body's muscles responding in some fashion. We think it has to do with the electrical properties of water. Water is not just a conductor of electricity, but rather a superconductor. And so when we're well hydrated, then it seems to work better as far as being able to absorb the stimulus of the product, whether it's under the tongue, up against the sternum region, wherever the case may be. It just seems to work better. If you take a look at Dr. Diamond's book, Your Body Doesn't Lie, Chapter 2, the role of the mysterious thymus gland in testing, he talks about the hydration aspect, and with the thymus being what they call the energy regulator of the body. The other thing, of course, that's important, if possible, is to get yourself a portion of wholesome food, because blood sugar level is important for good muscle testing. What happens is this, is if your blood sugar level isn't within a certain normal range, your muscle response gets shaky, either from too much sugar or too little sugar. And so what will happen is your scores will be shaky as well. And so whenever possible, have a portion of wholesome food 15 to 30 minutes prior to doing some serious testing, okay? Again, the final qualifier is, are you in a testable state? So even if you don't have the opportunity to get those things done, and we're always recommending them whenever possible, but even if you don't have the opportunity to get them done, it still comes down to the litmus test is, are you responding appropriately to a poor food versus a good food?